Well, Professor Charles Dokubo joins us now. He's the head defense and strategic analysis of NIIA. Thank you for coming this morning, Prof.
Well, thanks for having me.
Well, the comments of the British Prime Minister and then the subsequent response from the President still generating mixed reactions, and people speaking about the diplomatic privileges, whether or not it's been breached. How do you view this?
I think Cameron was looking at Nigeria years back. He doesn't know that it was Buhari he was talking to. If the record that is that Nigeria had been corrupt for a very long time, this was a different time. For him to have brought it that talk was very wrong of him, so as far as I'm concerned, and quite undiplomatic. And then sometimes, you know, we have to tell them the truth. If you're accusing us of being corrupt, where do we take it to? Most of the people that siphon money out of Nigeria, where do they go and place it? It's not in their own country. Are there rules in their country that prevents it? If not, why didn't you send this money back at once they were invested into your country? It takes two to tango so far as corruption is concerned. And that it's not just only the taker, but also the person who receives it also is also as bad as the person who takes the bribe, or who is corrupt, or from whichever country it comes from. And that for Cameron to say that at this particular time, I don't think it was quite right. It was a big blow, and for me, the reaction of the president was as smart as it could be. We don't want apologies.
Were you expecting that kind of response from the president?
I was really taken. I was surprised, but I was happy with that sort of response. That, you know, he immediately hit out, and it was not that we don't want apologies. What we want is the refund and repatriation of those funds that have been taken into this country. Our colonial links with Britain has been very long, and the only place our people sometimes know is there to go and invest money or to go and deposit money. That's where they run to. Holidays and everything, that's where they go to. If the British government had been so efficient in containing corruption, I doubt if those people will be going to Britain that way. They've also abated and then given them the avenue to do that. So one has to be very careful. I was surprised that the British Prime Minister, you know, could even say that to Nigeria. But I think we have to learn something from it, that if we are dealing with them, we also have to deal with them in such a way that whatever we say also will also hurt them at times.
Because many also wonder, we also had the same kind of scenario with the funds in Swiss for them to return it back to Nigeria. They said it was going to take a long, tedious process. So is it a template or method that the West usually approaches, adopts, if those monies come to their countries?
The fact also remains that, you know, since they are holding this meeting, it's not only between Britain and Nigeria, but also other countries involved. It will set a template in which either this refund or repatriation of funds will be very fast or speedy in such a way that, you know, you get back to the country that owns it. But if this meeting this conference does not solve that, then we've not started anything. If the West complains about Nigeria being corrupt, or any other person says Nigeria is corrupt, for me, this conference or this meeting will also be a defining moment. The role they are going to play in trying to repatriate funds back to Nigeria that have been taken in that country will have been, I think, it will send a good notice to those Nigerians that are still ready to take money to that country.
I think the big day is today, Thursday, and you've just touched on a very important aspect, which is maybe the speed or the slowness with which this repatriation has been going. Don't forget, even it was also the Abacha loot. It's been going back and forth.
Yes.
And with this one, the president categorically asking, this is what I want. Yes. Do you think this should also be another talking point on the day, which is today, as they continue their discussion?
Definitely, as much as they address the problems about corruption in Nigeria or in any part of Africa or anywhere, then the issue of repatriation becomes the central focus now. Because yes, you've claimed that we are corrupt and all that, but these monies are also in your own countries. How do we stop corruption in terms of there will be no access, you know, to these monies to go to any other place? Because that means they're not going to steal, they're not going to take money again out of our country. If you block it from your own side, or if you're ready to play with us in such a way that we know that any money that comes into that, we're going to send it back to you, nobody will take money to that country. But if you're so receptive of money, not even doing the money trade where it comes from, and even sometimes knowing that it is corrupt. They also have corrupt officials in their country. That was how these monies were siphoned into that country. Corruption is a worldwide phenomenon. It's not only an African or Nigerian. I've seen ministers in England go to prison for being corrupt.
This anti-corruption summit, there are a lot of people who will be hoping that it will indeed have a positive effect on the war against corruption. But what will happen to the safe havens?
These are, you've heard about the Panama papers and all that. These are areas that have been exposed now. There will be more exposure if the international community is serious about this. There will be more exposure, and also there will be more routes being looked for to go and play something that people will not discover. As you try to close one loophole, other areas will be created. This thing has just come up now, Panama. If not for, I've never heard about Panama papers or Panama being a safe haven. We talk about other smaller areas in Europe where you can go and have a safe haven and then save money there without any problem to avoid tax and all that. But Panama papers just came up now, and now we have known it. So for the countries, for Panama itself, it doesn't put them in a very good light. They will take actions in their country to stop things from happening there. And if all these safe havens are blocked, eventually people will not even take monies out again. Either they will dig holes and then bury in their own houses.
But the conversation, okay, go ahead. The conversation around the corruption perception index have been on for quite a while. Is it that the various governments were not paying attention? I mean, right now, Transparency International has placed Denmark as number 1, coming down. England is now amongst the top 10, but Nigeria is about 138 or thereabout. Yes. So, is it that the government have not been paying attention to these indices?
You mean the Nigerian government?
Nigerian government and indeed the other governments?
But the Nigerian government have been. We've heard about war against corruption for a very long time from various administrations. The fact is that our institutions are still not very strong to fight these sort of excesses that we see in our country. But with time, and then since anti-corruption has become the only game in the world now, I think most of these actions that will be taken will impact positively on Nigeria and other countries. They've fought the battle, but there are new avenues that have been discovered. I believe that this meeting of minds, of leaders, those countries that claim not to be corrupt and those countries that are accused to be corrupt, the meeting of these countries will create a platform to deal with the issue of corruption. At once it has been accepted and a template has been set, then we also could sleep and then remain at ease in this country, because those who steal money will not take it to any of these countries again. It is not that they go there and then later we fight a long battle. I'm talking about Ibori's money and all that. I don't think if it's been returned to Nigeria. And also, if it is returned, let the government make announcement, name and shame, and also put provisions that if you've been caught repatriating money that is not yours, then definitely you cannot participate in politics again. And no party of whatever political complexion should try to, rehabilitate you after 2-3 years and all that, and you come out and make noise again. At once you've been indicted and then you've been found wanting, definitely there will be a blacklist. You'll be blacklisted. You are not going to participate in politics again.
But the one wonders, do we really think that these countries will readily and easily just repatriate those funds? Because some of them have said, look, if you bring in any of this illicit funds, they could easily trace it, but it takes a long time to get the monies back.
That's what we are talking. This meeting will look for a time frame that if your countries have become homes for these looted funds, then what are you going to do, since we are coming together to fight against corruption? Are you going to close these loopholes? Are you going to repatriate the money immediately they enter your country, or immediately it has been traced to your country? Will you do that? What's your own part of the bargain? Is it only at condemning, stigmatizing us and all that? What are you going to do so that this war on corruption will be dealt with efficiently?
But I mean, granted that yes, they're holding these meetings, but did they need this meeting to know the right thing to do?
I think it has come to a point in which most of these economies are also going through difficult periods. And that they realize that, sometimes even this repatriated fund, they will tell you that they cannot just repatriate it to you. It must be used on particular projects by government and all that. These are, the coming together of minds, of like minds now. Now they've agreed that it's a problem, international problem. So I think the more we work in concert with these various countries, I think the better for us. And we believe that there'll be a leeway, an opening about how to contain this issue. Nigerians are offended about what the British Prime Minister said, but I think we should just take it in our strides. And then the response of our president was very good, and then I believe that Nigerians would also take heart that they have a leader that could even respond immediately.
Well, Professor Charles Dokubo is the head of Defense and Strategic Analysis of NIA. We appreciate your coming on this morning.
Oh, thanks for having me.
All right, then we'll be back. We'll be back tomorrow. This is where we draw the curtains today on the program. Our water session has been. Well, thank you all for hanging in there, and we'll be back tomorrow. Thank you for watching. I'm Chamberlain Oso.
I'm Neil Taiba. Thank you.
Don't forget 2 promises made from the minister and from television. We should have the minister back again to answer your questions. Many thanks, and thanks for the patience. I'm Sulaiman. I'll see you again.